It's time to hear the story, make the connection, learn the lesson, and gain the wisdom. Are you ready? Let's get charged and be changed. The Sister Speak Brother Break Show. Conversations on grace, healing, and deliverance. This is Marcy Bush. Come on, let's journey together.
I needed the help. I'm grateful to God, and that's one of the things I know. Like, okay, when I closed, like, had I not closed my church, I honestly don't believe I would have lived through that.
Right.
Right. Even with me being a pastor, and again, I know people will help, but there is no help like New Beginning. And Amen. Bishop says this is help for the hurting.
Yeah.
I'm telling, man.
One of the things that I remember experiencing during that time, and it's so crazy how God will use what he wants to use whenever he wants to use it. And like I said, with me having been with the church for so long, there were times when I could feel kind of things change. You know how you drift? Even if you don't feel it in the moment, it's kind of like certain things, everybody's life happening, things started to drift. But when Henry died, it felt like, it's almost like, and I guess I never thought about it before, but it's almost like how when you're in the house and everybody's growing up together, there's a certain bond, there's a certain thing that makes the house the house. Yeah. And then people start getting grown and having their own families, and they move away, and so you have the dynamic less and less in the house. But it was like when Henry died and we lost a brother, it brought everybody together. I mean, like the togetherness that it's like it consumed the house. And I really feel like Henry's death resurrected some stuff in us as a ministry, and in really getting to the point where we knew we could not take one another for granted again. And we need to sometimes, and I pray even now for those of us who see it, and even if it's not anyone from our ministry, that we don't allow life to let us drift apart again, but that we continue to remember the people that have a special place in our lives, that we don't take advantage of them, don't take them for granted, but that we stay connected in a certain way, because that connection is what makes all the difference. It's what brings this thing together. Even as a church home, each person being who they are, presenting who they are, it gives the whole feel. And so, that it was amazing how God used that to just
Because really, I never forget when I was walking out of the hospital that day, because it felt like we stayed forever at the hospital, because we went in and it was daytime, and then it was like this awful storm that happened. So when we came out, it was pitch black, and I just remember it being a line of men from our church that stayed and waited on us to move, and I just even to people that came to, and I was like, oh, well, Bishop would take people back there to see him, and it was like, that was the viewing. I didn't want another people. The funeral home was like, well, yeah, we'll do the viewing. And I was like, no, I don't want another. Like, we've already had a viewing. Like, everybody who needs to see him has seen him, and I don't want to do another viewing. Like, let's, but it just felt like, this place, these and people, and like you said, what you said just then was like very important. Like, people being who they are. Like, if you're just who you are, and I'm who I am, and what I have may help you, and what you have may, and we don't have to pretend. We can be ourselves and be effective in ministry. And help somebody else along the way, like, because that's what this journey is about. Like, it's helping our fellow person along the way. We have these experiences, and we don't want them to go through what we went through.
Right.
So if I can be open and honest with you, and I think that's one of the reasons why New Beginnings is so special to me, is because Bishop is so transparent, so it makes it easy for us to be transparent.
Right.
We don't have to fake. We don't have to pretend like we didn't go through these things. We can say, hey, this is what I went through, and this is how I went through it, and this is how I came out on the other side. Now, I don't want you to have to go through all these little steps I had to go through and hit all these little knots and humps and bumps and mountains and hills that I had to do. But if you see me now, and you appreciate where I am now, then this is, these are the steps that you can skip, and you can still be in this place too.
Yes.
And so, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to, be a part of the ministry and be a part of even Sister Speak, and, you being my sister, my little bit sister. It's always, it's just an amazing journey, like, to get here. And see and honestly, in ministry, when I left my home church, I came from the AMEZ denomination. And what I get here and what I see here and how the ministry is operated here is exactly how I envision that ministry should be. And that was another reason that weighed heavy on me closing my own ministry, because it's like, this ministry already exists.
Gotcha.
In the earth. It's already here. Like, there's already because I always believe a pastor is a pastor. You shouldn't be going and the pastor tell you something, you can't go and vote on that. I'm a sheep. How would I look like going to vote? Right. What the sheep gonna vote on? What the like, for me, that was always how we don't, like, how y'all operate like this. Why is that just thought always seems so off to me? Pastor said we need a new van. Okay, well, y'all think we need a new van? Well, the pastor said we need a new van. So we need to figure out how we gonna get this van. But that's what. So I mean, and that's one of the things that for me, New Beginning will forever be like that place in my heart, because I'm just like, okay, whatever Bishop say. Right.
Because you have to find where you fit.
You have to find
where you fit. And you'll know when you find where you fit. It doesn't mean, because I will say, I have not, it's not like I've always agreed with every single thing. It's not like I've liked everything. Shoot, I don't like everything in my natural family. That you still know where you fit.
Exactly.
You still know, ooh, that was a little different, but, and you swallow when you go on.
Swallow hard.
Yeah. And so I too am grateful for being here, and not just, like I said, because what makes it what it is not just who Bishop is. That's major. But it's who my sisters and brothers are as well, and what we bring to the table and how we make one another okay.
That's it, because it's a certain type of freedom when you can be yourself. Yes. When you can
bringing out my cheat sheet. Go ahead.
You can be yourself, and you can be yourself and still be who God called you to be. Yes. Because a lot of times it's like you see people, they're putting like this makeup and this outfits, and I always wonder, like, why we wear certain clothes to church. Like, I would have all these questions. Why we gotta wear this to church? Who told us that these were church clothes? Who told us that Steve Harvey suits was church clothes, or Monique suits? Who told us that this stuff this was church? Who told us that? Exactly. And why did we believe it? Because that is a stumbling block for so many people. So if I can come to church dressed like this, and people not looking at me strange, because this is who I am. I'm not your dressed up person. I'm not your skirt. High heels person.
And for the first time, I thought about, how even in that old hymn that talks about, to serve the present age, my calling to fulfill. Even with that, I think maybe for that age, that helped people, that gave them something, different. It was something, I feel like that dress up Sunday morning put them in a different mindset or a different mind frame. But this present age, there's something different that we need.
And for me, it's like it became like a type of bondage, because if you don't have that,
Right.
then you're looked at different.
Right.
And so it's nothing wrong with doing that
Right.
if that's something that makes you, it helps you get into the presence of God or in the mindset.
And I think this is one of those conversations that we're going to end up having round table discussions like, why do we do the things we do? Where did it come from? Or furthermore, is it true? Is it,
Is it a necessity?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Because that's what, when I started preaching originally, that was one of the things. I never forget my initial sermon. That's what I was told. Everybody was so happy that I dressed up.
Okay.
Like, not that I didn't dress up, but I had on a dress, and I was, and so that made people happy. So they congratulated me on that.
Okay.
And then I was told that I can't smile as much as I smile. And people won't take one of the elders pulled me to the side. He was like, your sermon was great. You did an awesome job, but you're going to have to let that smile go. He said, in order for your ministry to be effective,
oh Lord,
and people to take you serious,
you need to be nasty.
I'm like,
and you need to.
I'm like, okay, Lord. Like, so now I got to. So people are like, oh, you got to dress like this, and you got to keep a somber face. I don't know, but I don't know what they thought they was getting when they got me. But
I thank God for freedom. Freedom. I'm grateful. Well, look, we're going to do some at the chorus because I always find myself telling my guests you'll be back. And I know, but I really believe that unless God shut this thing down, there are lots of things for us to explore, talk about. I know that your testimony is not over. I know we didn't hit everything in your life. I know that you're in a totally different phase now. Life after death, being a widow, yeah. And even that, what is a widow? It's such a, so anyway, yeah, we'll be continuing our conversation at some point, but I want to ask you a few things we're going to do at the core. And these are like a rapid fire questions. So you're just going to give me the answer, and we're just going to kind of go with it. What is the most beautiful place you've ever seen?
The most beautiful, the beach.
Okay. Who is your best celebrity friend or your celebrity best friend? like in your mind?
Sarah Jakes.
Okay.
That's my girlfriend.
Okay.
My homegirl.
All right, girl. And let's see. What is your worst habit?
My worst habit is sitting in the car. I will sit in the car.
Child, that's a matter of point of view, because this one, I love it.
Oh my gosh, I have gotten so like why are you not in your house?
Oh, I love it.
It's like so peaceful, but it's like for me, I'm learning to turn the car off. I think maybe that might be it. Because one day my gas light came on, I was like, "Now you got to do better. You got to do better.
To do better. Yeah, you got to do better
here with your car ready."
But yeah, that's one of my things too, and I love it. I love it.
Right.
Yep. Well, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for taking this time, spending this time with me. It feels good. That felt real good.
Yeah.
And I know without a shadow of a doubt that somebody has been blessed, that someone has received help. And I'm just excited about what God is going to do even with you in this next phase of life, how he's going to use you. And so just thank you for being here.
Aww.
And thank you all for being here for the Sister Speak Brother Break show. I do hope that you will share this with someone that you love. Share it, because sometimes we don't even know what people need, but they know it when they hear it. They know it when they see it. So I'm asking you to share this, and I'm also asking you to meet us here again next week, same place, same time, for the Sister Speak Brother Break show. God did that, y'all. I didn't, and it's a whole mouthful. All right, but I love y'all. See you next time. Be blessed. So what are some of the things that led you to say, yo, I gotta get help?
When I felt I was losing the connections that mattered to me, You know, when I didn't feel like I'm doing everything I think I know how to do, but something's not right. Financially, things were an issue because I think another thing with the anxiety and depression was, okay, I didn't matter, so I would help everybody else. So, and to that point where like, no, I got to do something because this is not right. This is not how life is supposed to be.
Right.
You know, where I'm working, I'm living, but after work, I'm literally going home and getting in my bed just to do everything else over again.
Okay. And so, how did you take that first step? Because you did seek therapy, you did seek help, and so how did that go about? How did you feel at the beginning of that?
The beginning of therapy was hard, but I think before the therapy, I think my lowest point was there was a suicide moment.
Okay.
And that moment, I was like, nope. It didn't work, but it was an attempt.
Okay.
Yep.
So it wasn't a thought anymore.
No, it was an attempt.
Okay.
It was a complete attempt, and of course, not going to detail it because I want anybody ideas.
Right.
But went through with it, did everything, but just it didn't work, and I was like, you know what? On the other side of it, I'm like, I can't do that because if I ever did it again, it may work.
Right.
So I end up calling, getting therapy, and that's all I knew to do. Let me set up a therapy appointment through the VA. They're supposed to help.
Right.
And we'll see. And I kind of fought back. Because I'm like, what do you mean, no? You're supposed to help me. What I mean, I got to talk and express. I'm not taught to do that.
Okay.
You doctor, tell me what to do. What do you mean I got to tell you how I feel? No.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
To the point where I just end up, after I went for almost 2 years, weekly. For almost 2 years, to the point where I had, if I wanted to get help, I had to put the work in.
Okay, but you saw that putting the work in began to help you?
It did, yeah. It began to help me. I started feeling better. If there was medication they prescribed to me, but that didn't work for me. But medication, I'm an advocate for it. But I ended up finding alternate routes that did just me. Like I said, finding the church where I'm at now, and with that along with my therapy, changed my life.
Okay.
Changed my life.
So therapy and getting in touch with, well, like you said, being at the right place makes all the difference.
And that's what my therapist has told me. You know, saying therapy helps, but you know, saying from what he could hear, he could tell that I was a religious person, a spiritual person, saying that, you know, get connected to a place of worship. And so I was connected, but getting more involved.
Yes, that's good. So if there is, well, let me back up a little bit. We talked about how there were relationships that suffered. You finally saw that you were suffering. You saw that therapy helped. You said you are someone who says, yes, if you need the medication, get it, try it, see if it works for you. Are there any things that you would like to say? Because we have a little segment that we're going to do in a little bit, where little fast questions. But even before we get to that, are there any things that you would like to, what would you share with someone who may be experiencing the PTSD, anxiety, or depression, or a combination of those, or any other mental illness?
I think it would be find people you can trust. Okay. It's so important, even if it's just one person, and that you feel like you can trust, and let them have a small peek inside. The hardest thing is even opening up an inch, because the worst thing you want to do is feel a burden or be labeled something. I never forget one story where it almost completely shut me down. Is I was out of town with some friends, and one of my things with my anxiety is I didn't notice I was doing it until later, was when I would get home from work, it would be so hard for me to unwind, to the point where I would get home, probably take my shoes off and start cleaning, start folding, so that, and I realized it's like 2 or 3 hours later and I have not sat down. Okay. And to the point I did that out of town, where I think we had just left from a concert or whatever, came back to the hotel room, and I was talking about it, stuff like that, and somebody said, Stuart, you haven't sat down for a minute. But someone else in the room said, don't worry about it, he's just crazy. Okay. And it hit me so hard. because they didn't know what I was dealing with.
Right.
But I was like, okay, Stuart, other people started noticing. It almost shut me down where I didn't want to be. But I said, you know what? You got to be careful with it. So one person is find out who you can trust, but more so to the people that if you feel like someone may be dealing with something like that, be observant, but be a soft place for them.
Yes. 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 That's good advice. Very good advice.
People tell me all the time, man, just keep doing what you're doing. Yes. I can't believe you used to do what you did.
Right.
But, I don't have to lie to you.
Right.
You don't owe me nothing. I don't owe you nothing. And what helps me today is that I can be honest about what it was like,
yes,
what happened, and what it's like now. Being able to be okay with being okay and saying out loud that, yeah, I used to smoke dope.
Yeah.
Yes, I would break in your house to buy crack. Yes, I would steal your purse to do methamphetamine. I sure would.
Yes, you will take your brother's car and sell it.
I took his car and sold it.
Yes.
I was good at it. I was good at taking other people's stuff. Because at the end of the day, nothing else matters. I don't care who you are to me.
So how do you sit here today for somebody that's watching and they are tired of being the way that they are, but they don't know how to not be how they are? What would you tell them is one of the most important things that they can do to get out of the addiction?
Be honest with yourself.
Okay.
See, because the only one in denial is you. Everybody that you know around you knows you on dope. You may have your job. You may still be renting a place, or may even have your own house that somebody probably gave you. But get honest with yourself and get honest with somebody else and let them know, this is my life. I don't like it, but I don't know how not to do this. And there's somebody out there that does know what you're going through. You're not hiding it. It's evident. Not we. They see it because they saw it on me. But they allowed it to go on. They allowed it to happen because until you get to the point that that's not what you want to do, nothing's going to change.
Okay.
You can wish it, you can pray it, you can hope it. But until deep down inside, you want something different. Because see, I needed something different a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I wanted something different, something other than the dope, the lifestyle, the mentality.
You have to find something that you want is greater than that.
You have to find something more important than the dope, more important than the sound of the chatter. Because you're not by yourself. But if you stay locked up in your own head and you keep telling yourself, you got this, you can beat it on your own, you cannot do this by, I do not do nothing by myself.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
Because I can't.
Okay.
If I could, I've done it a long time ago. My life would have been changed.
Right.
But in the last 1,787 days, the change is still going on.
Okay.
You know, you have to want it and you have to ask for it.
Right.
Messed up my whole mental game. I was doubting myself, had no confidence. It was crazy because instead of going for help, going to the people that I know, like, Doug, Bishop, even God sometimes wouldn't even, I felt like I'm gonna do this on my own. I'm gonna dig myself out of this hole on my own. And I think that was the wrong decision I know that was the wrong decision that I made because that came to, poor play, bad decisions, a whole lot of stuff, just came with that.
Right. And you didn't speak to anybody?
No, I didn't. I dealt with a lot of it by drinking, partying, making bad decisions. So that's kind of what got me through. Like I would drink a lot. And at that time, I think with being by myself, and I would hang around my younger brother, which was, probably wasn't a good decision at that time, because he was the one that wanted to party. So like, well, let's do it. Let's have a good time. And that's what it was all about. If I have a good time to take my mind off of it, not realizing once it wear off, you know, you go right back into that state.
Right.
And I remember sitting down with Charity, and something was going on where she asked me a question, and I just broke down crying. I was like, you know what? You don't know how hard this is. I think I did that twice because it was just so much. And like Charity, like I hit it so good, like Charity didn't even know like I was going through the majority of it.
Okay.
So what I did was I found me a therapist, and she did a wonderful job, but she only could take me so far to where I could, you know, start making decisions. And we kind of transitioned from her to couples counseling, and with me and Charity. So that's something that we, you know, still do now. Okay. I mean, the therapist was probably the best decision I made, and I also it was bad to where I had to get on medication also. Okay. So it was a rough time because I remember laying in the bed where your mind just started wandering, like it could put you like in a hole in a bad state.
Yes.
And it was a time I want to say about, and this was like recent. This was like, you know, 2-3 years ago. Okay. To where I was in this state where it was just bad. Okay. So I, you know, finally been able to reach out to a therapist, started taking the medication, and knowing that, you know, one thing I did want to do, and my wife didn't, you know, want me to take the medication, but I always would tell her, like, you don't, you know how bad it is. Right. It's easy to say, and it's easy to say, and my therapist was saying, it's easy to say that you don't want me to take this, or maybe you should do this. And it got me closer to God, no doubt. Got me closer to God to be able, and it did that, but you still have to be smart, like, and be able to, if it's caused you to, that's what they make doctors for. That's what the doctors make the medicine for. You know, to be able to, so we can take and be able to get us down the right path. So.
Right. And in this little spot right here, because I think it's really important, and I'm grateful that we see more and more people talking about the importance of maintaining your mental health and tearing down some of these stigmas, because I applaud you for knowing finally that you needed to get the help, and then even if you got out knowing I don't want to go back there, right, let me get back in. Even for some of our viewers, when it comes to therapy, talk to them. What
the thing about therapy? I mean, I hated it the first few times I went, because you start touching on stuff that you don't want to touch on, and you start pulling up feelings that you don't want to deal with. But my therapist told me, you know, that's part of the process. It's gonna get worse before it get better. Sometimes I would leave therapy like, man, that's just so, you know, draining, or I feel so bad. But realizing that if I gotta go through a little bit to get a lot, because I'll do that any day. And I always go back to my wife and my kids, being able to be in my right mind to make sure they taken care of.
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining us today. If you've been blessed by today's show, feel free to let us know. And if you'd like to sow into this ministry, become a sponsor, or contact us, you can reach us at 803-221-0169. Or you can email us at thessbbshow@gmail.com. Let's continue this journey together.